The knowledge to the power of these 6 forbidden builds in Hades 2 can potentially lead to the end of the world as we know it. So let's make a deal and make sure that you prevent that today's information ends up in the wrong hands. These forbidden builds that I cooked revolve around the hidden aspects, yes, the secret weapons, and due to their alternative movesets, they have a lot of secret interactions and can bring forward very OP builds that many simply seem to not know about. To unlock these hidden aspects, you have to unlock the 6 base weapons with their 3 aspects, level a non-Melanoe aspect accordingly to level 5, and then improve your relationship with the name of the character of the 2nd aspect in the list, and just keep talking to them till they drop you a sneaky phrase to unlock the hidden aspect for that weapon. Now, if that sounds like a lot of work, well, it kinda is, but it also kinda isn't if you also watch my top 5 most broken builds in Hades 2 video. Since that video is meant for beginners that have no clue what they're doing, or those that struggle and are on the verge of breaking their monitor. In that video, I go over 5 builds that literally anyone can dominate with back to back every run. Yes, you heard it right. And even those with a single digit IQ, or if you mash your controller like how gamers are usually portrayed on TV with godforsaken cringe acting. Trust me, check that video out and you'll know what I mean, and you'll have unlocked these hidden aspects before you even realize it. But also keep watching this video first. The clears of these builds will all be on high fear as well, by the way, as a baseline 32 fear both for the underworld as well as the surface, and I know that the game's highest fear tied to some kind of recognition for the surface is at 24 fear, but we're spicing it up there as well and putting it at 32 fear to stay consistent. Now we're going to go in order of how these weapons are presented in the menu, so let's start with the hidden aspect of Anubis for the Witch Staffs. Now this hidden aspect is extremely OP, however you definitely need to know how to build around this weapon to actually get there, because it can feel underwhelming when not built properly. So what this weapon has is this epic move where if you use your attack, you drop a damaging field that ticks, and every tick here is a source of damage. The general game plan then is to not drop the attack manually, but rather through a dash strike, as the attack will accordingly come out much faster, but that will just act as the build-up, because while this field is burning the target, you start loading up your Omega attack to get an even more powerful field going. The chaining of the normal attack into your Omega attack here is to make sure that you have a high upkeep of damage as much as possible and do not waste time. Then while this Omega attack is nuking the target, you can use your specials or Omega specials to make sure everything here stays in this damaging field, because these specials pull in everything that is hit towards you. Or alternatively, if you don't have the room to use specials, after putting down your Omega attack, you can just run around the field and mobilize the unique property from Anubis, the lone orange shades, to catapult towards your enemies to damage them like that. It's a very useful alternative strategy if you don't have the luxury to stand still to use your specials while your Omega attack is destroying everything. But building it to make it OP comes from the premise that every single instance of damage here comes from your Omega attack. Your main source of damage can function as a breeding ground to make synergizing modifiers go crazy, and works extremely well with flat damage increases. Now I'm going to focus on Hestia since I think Scorch gets absolutely disgusting here. Every tick builds up Scorch and you can easily do thousands of damage back to back, especially because these ticks compound off each other, so you're just applying more and more Scorch without having to actively attack outside of that first Omega attack nuke. So summary, get Hestia on your attack as soon as possible. Then on your special, you can complement it with a percentage based scaling boon like Apollo's, Aphrodite's, or Demeter, or Hera, since the base power of your special in comparison to your attack is actually quite high, so it gets nicely amplified by big scalers. And now we amplify our Scorch as much as possible as well through means like pyrotechnique and highly flammable. And that's still all pretty basics. We haven't gone into the recipe for the secret sauce type of things get a lot more interesting when we add Demeter and Aphrodite to the mix. See, you have 2 duo boons with these that are disgusting here. With Aphrodite, you can get her gain, which applies weak to everything around you and replenishes your magicka at the same time. Now you might say that the gain of Aphrodite in terms of magicka regen isn't the strongest, but it doesn't matter since your Omega attack costs 25 magicka, but it lingers around for quite some time, meaning you'll have that restored way before you have to apply it again. But the fun thing here is, and why we get the gain, is that you can accordingly get the Aphrodite Hestia duo boon, Burning Desire, which does not damage your Scorch, and since your gain here applies weak to everything around you all the time, you can get infinite Scorch on entire groups. For Demeter then, I suggest to get her cast or her special in the kit here. Cast will be very nice because it's always an amazing cast for safety, but it also means you can now get origination going with essentially just your cast, as the other curse, the mentioned weak from our Aphrodite's gain, is being applied automatically. With Demeter in the mix, you can also get a duo boon between Hestia and Demeter, Freeze or Burn, which can give you huge nukes like this, just applying freeze after you build up some Scorch. I really like this for boss fights especially, as you can just chunk huge damage right before they move away from your damaging zone, for example, and you have built up a nice bit of Scorch. To finish off this build then, get a good sprint. Apollo is honestly really nice for your sprint to get days going on everything. Another recurse that's easily applied as well and will lead into even easier origination application, but Apollo can also facilitate giving you fire infusions, which directly syncs with Hestia, and you can play off that if you get either infusion, and if you get Apollo's infusion, that is a nice bit of sustain and healing, which can sync nicely with our other sustain related boons that you can pick up with the mentioned gods. One final god I need to mention here for this build is Zeus, of course. Chain lighting through static shock actually bounces off every single tick of your Anubis damaging field, so you can get heaps of AoE damage like that in a huge radius. For your hammers then, you honestly have a lot of options, and it doesn't really matter at this point with everything I already mentioned, but I personally like Mirrored Ankh for huge coverage on the battlefield and Rapid Treasure to get your Omega attack out very fast. Now, one secret interaction here that people do not seem to know about is that if you get Total Eclipse from Selene here, well, guess what? First of all, its godsend is in fact Hestia, so it directly loops back to the core god of the build, but what the godsend here does is apply Scorch all over the field automatically for you, which then means you can play off that with your core gameplay loop, build up huge Scorch, and accordingly combinate the damage into nuclear power with the mentioned duo boons. But also, Total Eclipse here strikes a specific area for huge damage, and what do the specials of this hidden aspect do again? Yes, exactly, it pulls them in towards you, right into the zone of the Total Eclipse. So overall, there's an absolute insane two-way synergy with this hex on top of everything already. Pretty much as insane as all the extra quality of life that you will get by subscribing to me right now and making sure to like the video. And yes, I have to mention both things, you know how it works. Just like I need to mention the equally crazy build number 2. We need to proceed, and this one revolves around the Morian hidden aspects, as the daggers are the next entry in the menu, and they have a very interesting but seemingly not so very known interactions with Hera and Apollo in particular. See, these daggers reward you for using one attack, one special, and one Omega move, by accordingly then giving you 777 raw damage, and this bonus damage is called the Blood Triad. You get this cool icon on top of your target to indicate what you still need to do to proc this Blood Triad, and the mark placements are fixed here so you can quickly see what you need to do to get these Blood Triads back to back. Now the thing here is that your attacks and Omega attack give you a lot of coverage on the battlefield. It's essentially AoE damage. The Omega attack also gives you 2 additional slashes away from the target. So this is why we're going to put Hera on our attack, run her keepsake, and we can accordingly apply hits to a bunch of targets and insanely fast spread your damage like that. The pace of the spread here is like an uncontrolled SCD going ham in a cult because our enemies are not wearing any protection. And yes, the 707 damage Blood Triad procs can in fact also spread through your hitch. It's an amazing interaction that catapults the power of this build into nuclear destruction. You want to get a good gain here as soon as possible as you're spamming Omega moves, but with Hera in the pool it's no worries really though, because we get access to arguably the best gain in the game anyways. Now we also want to get Apollo in the runnings and get him on your special, and then in addition on your cast or sprint. I prefer the sprint, and then keep the cast for a nice curse based CC. It's just so we can quickly get origination going through a mix of either our cast, our attacks, and our sprint. Now why do I specifically mention to get Apollo on our special and sprint here? Well, those are 2 prerequisites for his legendary, and Apollo sprint is actually very nice as well because the extra speed helps out with quickly repositioning for loading up our Omega attack, and the daze is nice for sustain but also to perma upkeep origination as it's a 9-second curse. And then you also want a tier 2 boon to get all the requirements done. I prefer Backburner or Extra Dose for that purpose if possible. It's a nice bit of increase in DPS. Since we use our Omega moves quite frequently, Apollo's legendary is simply just going to double every time we do that. So we get 2 instances of damage, but also 2 potential marks cleared for 2 separate Blood Triads back to back. And keep in mind that this is in addition to you already being able to get double Blood Triad marks done through your Boomerang special, since you can proc the first Blood Triad before the Boomerang returns to you from your special, which then will give you a new mark for the next Blood Triad. And your regular attack or dash strike also hits a few times with a single press, so depending on the timing, it can also function as another source of being able to get back-to-back Blood Triad procs. So all the pieces of completing the triangle here can now in fact give you back-to-back marks, but Apollo Sagittary here means we can now get back-to-back Blood Triads regardless of which move was the final input for proccing the first Blood Triad. Then for your hammers, you can definitely take this build even more to the next level with options like Banshee Brand, which can give you double Blood Triad damage, that is huge, or Phantom Etching, which raises your Blood Triad damage to a whopping 999. Those are the Morrigan exclusive hammers, but if you can get Sweeping Ambush, then that's definitely amazing here too, to make your Omega attack insane. So ultimately you will get insane damage spread, including your Blood Triad damage, to get insane double Omega damage procs through Apollo, and then of course other gods can nicely amp up the build too. Not to forget that the duo boon between the two main gods of this build, Sun Worshipper, can also put in a lot of work for you by summoning a powerful servant that fights for you. Build number 3 can also be described as a powerful servant, where the servant in the description here refers to serving you the easiest wins of your life. Aspect of Supé. Torches are next in the menu, and this aspect embodies the grab some popcorn and get an auto win mentality. Yes, that's it, because the aspect of Supé automatically fires for you through the special lingering around you and the attack locking in on your target, and then you can weave the Omegas in between if you need extra DPS. But outside of that, technically you can just sprint around, let the specials and the attack automatically damage your enemies and just auto win like that. But you can make this incredibly OP too by getting a nice sprint boon, as Supé gives you a nice damage buff, and in this case we're going to go full nuclear and are going to focus on Zeus, as he has the potential to grant you a rush boon with insane damage. So we put Zeus on your sprint and our special as well to get blitz going. Then we make sure to supplement your Zeus damage with getting double strike ASAP for double blitz and bull damage, and both the chain lightning boons will be a very nice damage bonus for insane damage spread, especially if mixed with air quality. With the special circulating around us then, it's a constant stream of applying blitz from Zeus and also quickly proccing it due to you running around with your rush boon and the aforementioned supplementary boons. Since the base damage of this attack is not very high, we go for a good flat damage increase. In this case I would highly recommend Hestia or Heph. Supé with Heph is something I went over extensively in my other video, as well as the general approach to getting infinite blasts every single run back to back. Yes, you heard it right, so check that video out as well if you're interested in how to do that. And I will focus on Hestia in this video because it's a different angle, and it's amazing here as well because you can keep building up Scorch automatically, and the cumulative damage of your Zeus rush, automatic Zeus special, and automatic Hestia attack means a lot of blitz procs, a lot of lightning bolts, and a lot of scorching, and all of that passively. But we're going one step further here. Hestia Zeus gives us the possibility to unlock Thermal Dynamics, the duo boon, which will in turn make our blitz apply Scorch as well. So we get an infinite loop where we are constantly applying both due to the aforementioned reasons. Amplify your Scorch damage then with things like Pyrotechnique and Highly Flammable, and oh boy, it is going to be crazy. For your cast, I then prefer to get a curse-giving CC based option like Aphrodite or Demeter, so you can have a high upkeep of origination going and benefit from Furies. However, you can go full nuclear here and just full send it with Zeus cast as well, since it gives a lot of extra damage and synergizes nicely with some of the other mentioned boons. You don't really need to use your Magicka for this build, so your gain is not as important, but if you want to weave in your Omegas as well, then most of the gain boons will do their job well, to be honest, for this build, given its playstyle. Other boons then I would definitely consider is the duo boon with Aphrodite, which makes you proc blitz by running against blitz targets, but also accordingly giving you a stronger version of said blitz. But we're going to go one step further, and to make this build absolutely mind-boggling destructive, you can engage in what is called the Forbidden Jutsu, and only do this as a last resort. How, are you asking me? Hera. Pick as many Hera boons as possible, get her gain since it's still open, but more importantly it fulfills the requirements for King's Ransom. Just get a bunch of her boons, and just picking her boons as essentially fuel to grant us accordingly dozens of levels for our actual core boons from Zeus, and Zeus damage scales nicely with more levels, means we'll have an absolutely nuclear build. You can get your Zeus boons here to level 20, 30, 40 or even higher, and the Concave boon can also help with this, giving you 2 Hera boons at once in one case, which translates to 8 levels. The build already performs extremely well even without Hera in the mix, but this is a great way to make things just become ridiculous. Ridiculous like build number 4, where we just simply reach immortality. Yes, you heard that right. Through the hidden aspect of the Moonstone Axe, Nergal. Infinite healing is what I'm saying, look at this. we're going to restore hundreds of HP in seconds, and we'll be able to face tank whatever without even caring about it, but also get insane reach, because first of all we're going to start with grabbing Apollo on your attack. Apollo on your attack, and more importantly Omega attack, gives you absolutely disgusting reach. You can pretty much hit everything around all the corners of any encounter, and it's very fun because you'll also activate environmental damage like this for very easy terrain kills. Now that is step 1. See, Nurgle here allows you to heal yourself after every 9 strikes, but you can drop this all the way down to 4 strikes through Heph's legendary boon, which upgrades your aspect essentially, and that's a whopping 5 strikes shaven off thanks to this legendary boon. And guess what, a single Omega attack already provides you 4 strikes, so through this boon you will just essentially have back-to-back healing. However, we can up the power level here a bit, and here comes some more intricate interactions into play. Ares. We will use his plasma to increase our strike speed and move speed to get these strikes in even faster. So you will accordingly reduce the threshold for activating your berserk very significantly, and then now you also reach that threshold way faster with the inclusion of Ares and Heph at the same time. And with Apollo's disgusting reach on your attack, you have access to the entire battlefield, meaning you can safely also kill a lot of things. But see, when you activate your berserk, you can heal off a lot of things at the same time, because you're just simply hitting everything here, and every hit is a heal. If you can get Ares' legendary on top of Heph's legendary, then it becomes even crazier. To do this, I would either recommend putting Ares on your special and Heph on your rush, or Heph on your special and Ares on your cast. With Ares' wounds, you can also get his tier 2 boon to have a chance to double your damage. So the 3-way connection here is actually insane. The build is already very functional with Apollo and Heph as your 2 core boons. If Ares gets presented, it's definitely nice, but a lot of gods can amplify the core idea of face tanking here and being essentially immortal or providing you relevant utility. Hestia is great with Flash Fry to get a domino effect going with your insane reach, and Hestia also drives home nicely the idea of healing with the Apollo Hestia duo boon, as well as building up your fire infusions for self-healing. Demeter has nice sustain through freeze, and things like Weed Killer are a nice damage boost for your Omega attack. Poseidon is great to break the economy and give you purchasing power and more upgrades, and I can go on and on like that. For your gain, I would personally stick to Tough Gain for this build specifically, as the damage reduction here in tandem with our ability to face tank smoothly means you'll get a bunch of magicka for free essentially. But most gains will work here, as our magicka expenditure isn't too big with one Omega attack lasting for several seconds. On the topic of damage reduction then, Heph has a lot of amazing boons for this build. Pretty much all his shield related boons and uncanny fortitude on top of that are a blessing and will make you even more immortal, if that's a thing. To really drive home the idea of this build then, I would definitely grab strength with that huge damage reduction as well, and try to get Iron Core as a hammer, as it will double all your healing and is very significant. 2 heal per hit here when you are able to hit everything through Apollo, that then lasts 8 seconds and procs after every single Omega attack thanks to us picking up Heph's legendary. Yeah, it is crazy. Other several good hammers worth considering are then things like Colossus Slash, which gives you more damage and damage reduction, syncing nicely with what we're trying to do here, but Furious Whirlwind is also amazing, as it makes everything more smooth and easier to get the damage going with your Omega attack. Since you will face tank and heal it off anyways, I definitely need to mention Blackened Fleece, since it will buff your already OP Omega attack even more. Now one thing is sure with this build, every single enemy, boss or group of mobs is going to get annihilated, while you won't even get a single scratch, as you will just simply heal all your HP back like you weren't hit in the first place. But what is a hit on the contrary, however, is build number 5, our 5th forbidden build, revolving around the next hidden aspect in the menu, the aspect of hell. Like the name already implies, we're going to absolutely inflict hell on our enemies, but ironically doing so through the power of water. Yes, Poseidon is our guy for this build. Get him on your attack ASAP. We can also dub this build as the build that gives you 100 gold back to back in the 100 gold to 0 gold if you are a slowpoke minigame. That's how fast the damage will come out here. We put Poseidon on our attack since the skulls have a very low base damage, so Poseidon's splash and flat damage buff is going to add a lot of value here, especially with the Valkyrie's attack speed. For those that don't know how it works, you fire off your Omega special and then get set Valkyrie buff, which gives you a huge attack speed for some seconds, and your attacks will fire off automatically. If you press the relevant button. So combine it with huge splashes means you're going to push back everything while quickly raking up the damage. To get the best results, make sure enemies are aligned behind each other for this purpose and you'll definitely dominate them. But that's the beginning, because we're going to fish for Ares here as well and get them either on the special or on the cast. The special is probably better, and this will allow us to get their duo boon. This duo boon makes it so that 1 in 4 of your splashes will be double proc, indicated with a cool red effect. And thus you will get double the fun and insane damage and control like that. But that's not all, because Ares' plasma will give us the possibility to also buff up our already insane attack speed even more, so we become an absolute machine gun like that. While we progress, we also keep getting more Poseidon boons. His boons that can be described as breaking the game's economy are very nice here, but we also do this to fish for his legendary. For this purpose, I suggest to get his rush boon and slippery slope, which allows you to inflict froth with your attacks, meaning with just your attack special combo, which is the core gameplay loop here, you can proc origination back to back. After getting these 3 boons, that means that you can now get his legendary, and that thing absolutely annihilates bosses. The damage will go insane, it's all I can say really. And if you're lucky and you get the Ares legendary in tandem in the very same run, then oh boy, things are going to get crazy. But if you only get Poseidon's legendary, then that's definitely enough already as well. Ares legendary is just the cherry on top. However, we're not finished. Cardio gain from Hestia is the absolute best in slot here for your Magicka gain, which you will need since you're using Omega specials proactively. And then with how fast you shoot out your attacks, you can top off your Magicka very quickly here. Hestia is great here too for adding Fireball to your Omega special and other damage enhancing aspects as well, like Flash Fry, which will give you amazing clearing. And that's not to forget that the duo boon between Hestia and Ares gives you this huge power spike related to Ares' wounds mechanic. For your cast, you then get something like Arctic Ring or anything else that is just good CC and applies curse as well for even faster origination. If you add Demeter or Hera to the mix, you can then pick a lot of relevant water boons, like some of the examples shown on screen, which can play off very nicely into getting Poseidon's water fitness, giving you a bunch of HP for essentially free because you're going to get water infusions anyways, just focusing on Poseidon. And Demeter or Hera can amplify that, only making you very beefy, and their duo boons with Poseidon are respectively both very nice too, so we can safely say that the power of water will not fail you. And I mentioned Hera, and she's also very good to put on your special in case you can't get Ares there or have to put them on your cast for the duo boon, with your Omega special covering a lot of space so you can quickly apply hits to a lot of things and then accordingly use your Valkyrie's attack speed buff to quickly spread all that damage. One more thing to note here is that the hammers can add a lot of value as well to this build. My personal favorite is Garmer the Gaze. It's a lot of extra damage and reach here, very noticeable. Second favorites are going to be Leering Glance, which is like Zeus's Chain Lightning, and Venerated Relic to give you a longer duration of your Valkyrie, for those that don't like using the Omega special too much. Colossus Driver is a good shout too, especially given that the Omega special takes time to do its thing, doing its own thing like build number 6. And if you thought that I left the least for last, well, think again, because everyone that has reached this point will be rewarded with maybe the most broken entry so far. This one is really powerful. Shiva, the last hidden aspect for the black coat, is an absolute nuclear juggernaut when built right. This is an entry where you want to chain the Omega special with the Omega attack, so that means a good case to run Knight for easy crits. Both the Omega attack and special have high base damage, so a good percentage scaling boon is going to be insane here. We put Aphrodite on the attack since it's the highest scaler, and all the damage you do is in fact close damage as you dash forward and always hit enemies point blank. Then we put Apollo on the special, which will make it so that your Omega special radius goes from this to this. Yes, it's absolutely huge, and this way you can quickly stack up your destructive stacks. That basically just gives you more damage the more stacks you have. It's 50% extra damage per stack, and the limit is 6 stacks, with Apollo making it such a huge radius you can safely stack up as you get stacks from anywhere inside this enormous circle, but also at the same time it's just damaging everything and doing great damage due to Apollo's relatively high scaling as well. After the Omega special does its job and loads you up with stacks, you then unleash your Omega attack for a huge nuke thanks to Aphrodite scaling here. Now definitely get Apollo on your rush as well for a very easy curse application of 9 seconds, and Daze is nice, the sprint speed is nice, and Apollo will be in your run anyway, so great to get it. We don't just take Apollo for these 2 boons, however, we also grab a tier 2 boon from him, like the one that gives you extra backstab damage to potentially get his legendary. And his legendary in this construct is disgusting. Double Omega special and double Omega attack, and that's all we do. Omega Special into an Omega attack. So everything we do is now twice as juicy. And you can get max stacks with a double Omega Special very easily, and then nuclear damage with the Aphrodite Omega attack ×2. With this setup, you're going to practically one-shot everything, and the double the fun aspect here is really nice versus armored targets that block you from one-shotting them due to the armor break mechanic, where now your first Omega attack will melt their armor completely due to that damage already being insane. And if there is then accordingly an armor break preventing overflowing damage, then your second Omega attack will melt their regular HP on top of that. So very consistent one-shots and boss fights are a joke with this build. But we make all of that better with our little secret sauce. And yes, I have a lot of different secret sauces using Aphrodite's heartthrob mechanic. Since we're consistently consuming magicka anyways, so we generate these very quickly, essentially 2 per combo, but the Apollo Aphrodite Duo Boon gives you 2 extra every time you generate a heartthrob. So that is 6 heartthrobs per combo, and that's like 600 to 900 damage based on the rarity. On top of that, for free, that is going to be added and hit a lot of things since you're going to be dashing everywhere with the Omega attack. So it's a very nice synergy with the other aspects of this build. Now all of that sounds amazing of course, and you can grab Chaos Gates to hunt for attack enhancing damage boost or even special enhancing damage boost, as those are very noticeable, and I would definitely use the Blackened Fleece keepsake for either the third or final region to get a huge bonus to your damage as well. This keepsake does a lot for this build. Now we're not finished yet. For your cast you get something like Arctic Ring or any curse giving CC based cast that isn't Apollo, since we already got his curse on our rush, to get origination going here for a very welcome damage boost. You're consuming magicka very rapidly here with this build, so try to fish for a good gain like Born Gain as soon as possible, and Hecuba is an excellent pet here with his magic orbs to carry you through the earlier parts of your run when you don't have a gain yet. And then boons that enhance your Omega moves will add a lot of value here, of course depending on which third and fourth god you get in your run, but if I have to name one, then Weed Killer from Demeter is a really nice option here. For hammers you have a lot of good options too, like World Collider adding a ton of damage, or something like Reaper Frame being a mix of utility and damage, but Counter Supreme is also a very welcome hammer to quickly get you to max destructive stacks, especially if you don't have Apollo's Legendary yet. All in all, with this build you'll be dealing thousands of damage, one-shotting wardens like the annoying Phantom like it's nothing, and just essentially just becoming One Punch Man himself. Thank you for watching. The 6 forbidden builds have been displayed. Now that the puzzle pieces have been put together, it is time to summon your inner Exodia and go absolutely berserk yourself.